I want to start off by thanking you. I don't know if you remember, I was just starting out my career at the time, and you were one of the stars that really took the time to speak with me and gave me such a wonderful and memorable interview. So I really want to thank you for that and for taking the time to do this. It means the world to me.
Well, you are most certainly welcome. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you and your episode. Oh my gosh, the tissues were needed, Kelli.
I know.
Oh, but what a way to go out on what a performance. I do want to kind of break down the episode with you, but before we get started, I wanted to ask you what was the actual last scene you filmed? Because I know sometimes it doesn't go in order.
Right, it never goes in order. But the last scene on that last day, I filmed the stuff with Jesse and Billy
Oh,
and Carisi in the bedroom, and then we went to Carisi's office and filmed. I think there were two different scenes. So those were the last ones, and I begged Mariska, even though it's very much in her nature to celebrate and to throw big parties and to do that sort of thing. I said, please don't let's not do anything because I will be a puddle on the
yeah.
floor if there's anything. So they yelled cut on my last take and the last scene, and I got to say thank you very much to the crew, and I left and I ran home to trick or treat with my boys because it was Halloween.
It's kind of funny that you filmed one of the opening scenes last. That scene with Carisi and the girls. I mean, such a beautiful one. It really started off the tone for the episode. It was one of my personal favorites.
Oh, good, mine too.
Yeah, it was really it was needed. And obviously with a show like this, as heavy as this, I feel like those family moments are so crucial. I'm curious what it added for you to have that in your last episode. I feel like that was such a beautiful touch.
Well, I mean, the fans, I'm sure we're so excited to see that Rollins and Carisi tie the knot, and get married.
Yeah.
But they like the true intimacy that you get to see while they're in bed and having the girls jump on us, and you kind of see like what it's like behind the curtain and behind all the fanfare or any of that. Like oh my God, like what a beautiful little family. Like he's just accepted her girls as his own, and they've accepted him, and you get to see all of that instead of just like being foisted out into like a wedding ceremony. But I loved how they did the courtroom ceremony and how Bert Norberto Barba directed it. With me coming out. I thought that was really it was really very much in the line of what Rollins and Carisi, who they are and what they would do. And the costume designer was so great. Like I sent her a couple of things and she was like, "Oh, okay, awesome." About the wedding dress, and then I went in for the fitting for the wedding dress and I was like, "Wait, what is that?" And the dress that I tried on first was the dress I ended up wearing in the episode. So she did such a great job. And that's how it is, like when you have a character on TV, as if you're Mariska for a quarter of a century, but also for little newbies like me that are only
Oh
on
my
there for 12.
SU is not without you. Do you
Mm,
understand that? Like, come
mm.
on.
No, but for, like for 12 years. So people know, like Rollins is really defined, like in terms of what kind of clothes she would wear and how they would get married and those kind of things. So even though the audience, the viewers feel like they know her, um, it's still exciting for it to get to play out, for them to get to watch like those intimate scenes and in bed, and for them to get to say, like where their wedding is and what they're wearing and that kind of thing.
You led me into the wedding. I mean, I have to talk about that. Last time we spoke, they hadn't even kissed, and now we're getting to talk about their wedding, which is so amazing and so well deserved. What was it like to actually film that scene? I mean, like you said, the dress, to get into the dress, to have that moment of what I see is payoff, obviously, for you and the fans. I mean, this has been a slow burn relationship, but well deserved and everything. So I'm curious, what was that like to actually have that moment?
Well, it was, I it's very much me. Like my own wedding last year to my husband, it was me and him and the two boys and the preacher. Like that's all it was. So it very much reflects who I am to just have. Benson, to have Octavio, Mariska, and Ice there. And so that part was joyful, and like I got to come out, and it was just our little family. And then, like that's the part I enjoyed. And then you have to do the reception.
Of course.
So I was like, I don't like crowds. I don't like being the center of attention, like in a big group like that. So that part I was just like slogging through. Um, with my Uggs on, like going from my trailer, like it being all cold in like a wedding dress. But the other part I loved. Um, so that's it's very much the same, keeping in line with who I am as well.
And it was so nice to see, obviously, Amanda and Olivia work on that case together. I couldn't imagine the last episode without her doing a case. Rather than saying goodbye the whole time, it was really getting to do what she loved and do what she started with.
That's a very good point. I think that's a very good point. Yeah, it was, like we called it like the Thelma and Louise episode because they got to kind of work together and, be out of town and, like seduce that guy at the bar, like go undercover a little bit. It was like that kind of stuff like you never get to see them do. But I think David Graziano and Julie Martin did such a beautiful job writing that last episode between us.
Yes.
And I remember they all came to my dressing room before we started filming it. We kind of went over the scenes and we all worked together and like changed little things here and there and got it to a place where we were like, yes, yes, yes. And then that happened. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then she says that and that. And Julie Martin was writing furiously. And but they had the bones there. And it was such a great idea for an episode for us to be out of town, for us to get to kind of play and it just be me and her, even though it was like the night after I got married.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
It's all right.
I mean,
They've got their whole lives.
yeah, right, exactly. And I mean, the scene with them in the motel just drinking and having that conversation, what an intimate conversation. And, it was fun. And then we had that moment, obviously, with the bomb drop. I mean, with the reveal for Amanda to Olivia that she was leaving. Um, what was that whole thing like to film? I imagine it was so much emotion, obviously, between the two of you, but then to have that conversation with the characters.
Well, I mean, it's exciting to act with Mariska, and like to have our two characters be able to, because of course we still improv here and there, but to actually just live in the moment, live in that moment and I think we even did cross coverage. So like when that happens, like you can really play off each other and kind of overlap and like be like normal human beings because they can match everything. Like instead of it being, like just on you and then turn around on me, like we have to match where our elbows were and all that. So it was very they the crew did everything they possibly could to make it the best shooting situation possible,
Yeah.
so that we could play, and like here we are ladies, and like it's still that sense of play that you like in the most childish sense of the word, like you get to be free and just be in the moment with that other person. And I think that really shone through.
Yeah. And I really like hearing that because it comes across so authentic and to know it's like that behind the scenes. There are obviously shows and films where you can't improv or really do that. What was it like to actually add the improv? Do you have a favorite moment that was improv that maybe wasn't in the original script throughout the entire episode or anything like that?
um no, it's so loose
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, but especially that scene, with us on the bed after drinking the boxed wine, that was the funnest part.
Going off Amanda and Olivia, that final moment is really where I needed the tissues. I mean, just that I love you to both of them. It was so real, so beautiful. Can you talk about watching that? Because I imagine it's one thing to film that, and I know probably the emotions were so high. And then to actually watch it, I can't even imagine.
Well, I went and did ADR, which is like what actors have to do when they go into the booth and you have to re-record sometimes the audio for certain lines that you've done. And that scene was in there for me having to do some lines for that. And so I was watching it and I was like, I was doing the lines and all of a sudden, like, I couldn't talk. It's like, so I was like in this booth, this black booth, like watching it. I was like, like, hold on. I'll be back with you. Just give me a second. You know, and wiping away my own tears. And I texted Mariska. I was like, I just had to do our scene. And I actually put on makeup today and now it's all over my face. She goes, of course it is, you know. So
Oh,
she goes, I had the same experience. So
it really
it was
is though.
very, yeah, it was very, it's very, it's, you know, I mean, we're really good friends. And they're, you know, Vincent and Rollins are really good friends. And something I was feeling in that last scene was that there's been so many scenes where Rollins has found herself in that office having to come clean
Yes.
to whatever captain was in there. Um, and this was not that. This was her choosing to take the next step with her life. And that's a different feeling. And it was a different feeling walking out of there for the last time. And so that was, that was really touching to me as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, Kelly, you're making me cry again.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Um,
Oh, hearing the background of that is
but
just,
it's so great because like it wasn't just like fairy dust and like, oh, Rollins got married and da 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 da. It
no.
wasn't like sugary sweet. It was like, you know, like Rollins is a character that got on your nerves maybe a little bit, that you were like confounded with her decisions or mad at her or like, what are you doing? I don't get you right now, just like a friend, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, and so, and certainly in that uh particular relationship, it was like that. Like Vincent and Rollins weren't just all the, it wasn't like, hi, I'm gonna be your new best friend. It wasn't like that. It was,
Yeah.
we earned our relationship. And then the Rollins and Carisi relationship. I
Oh, yes.
thinking back to like some of my favorite scenes, I loved doing that scene with him where when he left the unit to become an attorney. And I was
Oh,
like, you're
yeah.
abandoning me, you
Yep.
know? And he's like, wait, I thought you were fine with it. And I was like, of course I said I'm fine with it. I'm not fine with it,
That was
know?
one of those scenes you don't forget.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really loved doing that. And it was set up in a way that, you know, we know these characters and we can, like we know where their heart lives.
Yeah.
And, it's just nothing but a joy to play that.
As if that wasn't emotional enough, you then had the scene where she walks out of the office. And I have to just mention one little moment between her and Finn because that stood out to me. Oh my gosh, like it was just such a good added moment. Was that improvised? Did you have that something like that written between you and Ice T? Like, how
No,
was
that was
that?
improvised. Yeah, that
Oh,
was improvised.
oh,
It's that was my mom's favorite part too. That's
oh,
funny
so
you say it. I miss you, boo. It's funny too. Like my first scene, like I was a guest star on Law and Order. I played a victim of or a survivor of sexual assault the first time I was on it, and then my first day on set as Detective Rollins, it was just a scene with Ice. It was one scene,
yeah.
and I was like, hey, like if you want to move here, or if you want to say that line while but I'm gonna say it like this, and he was like, you do you, boo.
Oh,
So that's funny that he was like, I'm gonna miss you, boo. Like he said this, I was like, so it's always been so easy with Ice. My one of my biggest regrets of the last 12 years is that I didn't keep seriously. It's a serious regret of mine that I didn't keep a journal just on my desk, like in the squad room with the Ice T-isms, because there were so many good ones, like he's one of the wisest people I know, and he's such a Buddha, and I've really, really learned a lot from him.
I just
Another regret is not picking up more accents from Mariska because she's a master at it, and I should have learned more from her.
oh my It's so funny. I just met them this year for the first time. I can only imagine what it was like filming with all of you. You just are all such wonderful, lovely people. Like it's unreal. So can only imagine what that set was like.
It's a very fun place to work.
Yeah.
Very fun. And throughout the years it was. When I first got there with Richard Belzer and Dan Florek, I ended up going to Belzer's house and in France, the summer after that first season. And I mean, just magical times. Every single person that I've worked with there has been a pleasure. And all the guest stars that came in, I mean, I always loved it when Susie Essman came in, or I mean, there's so many good ones over the years, but it was always a pleasure. You're like, oh, they're here to play. That's great.
It was one of those shows that was so iconic that everyone wanted to be on it, you know?
Yeah. And when
So
I got to play with Donal and then Jason Biggs joined there. That he was great to work with. So
and yeah, you obviously have, while we don't get to see it, which breaks my heart, we do have this next chapter for Rollins. She's going to be a professor. What was it like finding out that this was going to be her new path? I mean, her new chapter.
I was like, really? She's gonna be happy with that. And then the more I got used to it, I was like, that's great. You know what I mean? Like she's always been super curious, the intellectual component of the psychological component of why people do what they do has always been endlessly fascinating to her. I think that was her training. So to kind of follow that up and delve into it in that particular way, I think is very fitting.
Yeah. I know this was just one line, but I do have to ask you about it. The Staten Island wedding. I mean,
What do you think it looked like?
oh, I want to be invited.
I
We just
think I
have one
think what did
special.
Yeah, right? I think what did that dress look like
Oh
too?
my
What
god.
the Rollins dress I'm sure was different for that wedding.
Oh right. Oh my god.
There was a veil, there was a train. Poor Jesse and Billy had to like carry around a train, ice
Listen.
sculptures, chocolate fountains.
Oh, the Italian in me imagines the food too. Could you imagine they make cake, the food?
Oh, so
Oh my
good.
god. So you,
So
when you read
good.
that line, were the
I
images just
loved
in
that
your head?
line. I loved that. I absolutely did.
Oh my
Because she was such a great character. I mean, Beverly D'Angelo, like to get to play with her
god.
that day I was in heaven. Um, so I'm glad we got to, we kind of titillated the audience's imagination with what would the real wedding look like.
Right.
Because Sonny is not getting away with,
Oh,
you
are
know,
you kidding?
hmm,
Oh my
funny.
gosh. Yeah, that line was hilarious. That if that happens, I need the invite. Kelly, I'm
Yeah,
holding you to it.
yeah, that's funny.
Oh my
Hmm.
god. And now, I mean, we have the marriage, we had the wedding. Is there anything else you think is next for Rollins and Creasy when you think about their future? Is there anything else that it holds for you?
Um, Well, I think just making that promise to each other, I think is, in seeing what that life is like. You know, I think it's pretty joyful, and that like thinking about their life together really resonates with me. I just celebrated my first year anniversary with my husband. I've got two awesome boys, like it's pretty joyful around here. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that that's what they're experiencing too.
That must be so nice to kind of think about when you leave a character behind, is they're having that joyous life, you know. I know,
Yeah.
I know that sounds so cheesy because you're not getting to see it, and obviously it's that's how we ended it, but it's just kind of joyful to think about. I know for me and fans, like she was a comfort character, and I imagine it's even deeper for you playing her for 12 years. I mean, to think she's joyful now, you know.
Yeah. I mean, all the messes and all the messy characteristics that she had, like even with all her mistakes and like she found someone that loves her so
So
much and
much.
that she loves so much.
Yeah.
So, if there's any legacy of Rollins for the the viewers or for the fans. I hope it's that. You can find somebody.
I mean that line at the very end, "Do not postpone joy." I mean, do not. Such a beautiful message and so needed.
Yeah, yeah, and not very SVU like.
I know. Okay, so that's what I was gonna say. On a show like this that is so heavy, to have that message at the end of the day is so necessary and beautiful. So I think such a beautiful legacy for your character. And kind of a fun question for you, which kind of goes off of that, is what would Amanda now tell the version of Amanda from when you first joined the show?
It's all gonna work out. You'll be okay.
Yeah, goes down to that. And if you do ever come back, because as Livia mentioned, you could always come back, is there anything you would want to update fans on, years down the road or whenever that possibility would be?
Like, is there anything I would want to update fans on?
Yeah, like Amanda is doing this, or Amanda and Carisi are here in their life. Anything like that you would like to do? I mean, I think you left it so beautifully, but if you could come back years from now or anything.
I think, yeah, I mean, the times and everything dictate where they are. So Carisi remains on screen. So let's see how he is.
Yeah, that's one good thing is we do get those updates from him. I'm hoping, in the future. I live in New York. We talked about that last time we spoke, but I'm very active on social media, and I see how many times you meet fans while filming the show, and just meet fans on the street. What is that like to have people come up to you with gifts or just want to hug you and thank you? What is that like, to know your work has really resonated and impacted people in such a way?
It doesn't suck. It doesn't suck. I mean, I was walking with my sons, I think it was yesterday morning, and and we were just going through the park, and this lady that works for the park, she looked up and saw me, and she goes, "I love you." I go, "Love you too," and like just kept on going. And my son looked at me, and I was like, "That doesn't suck, right?" And he goes, "No."
I love that.
No, I mean the fan response, like in the past 6 months, has been
Yeah.
just simply incredible, and I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart, for every kind, supportive thing they've said, and meeting fans on the street. I mean, I'm on a procedural, but it's a procedural that deals with some really, really heavy material, and it's stuff that it's hard to talk about, and historically has been hard to talk about. So when I have a fan come up, or a viewer come up and say, "Hey, thank you, your show's really helped."
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. And I mean, like you kind of mentioned, the outpouring of love and support from the fans these past few months. I mean, it's been so beautiful to see because it's so well deserved by you. And I'm glad you
Well, thank you.
feel that. Yeah, I'm glad you see that because I wanted to say that to you.
Hmm.
Everyone, I've seen it for a while, but these past few months, everyone loves you, and I hope you feel that support.
I do. I certainly do. It feels great.
I'm glad. And were you satisfied with the ending? I mean, I know that's such a broad question. And speaking to you, I can hear the passion that went into the episode, but obviously you've played her for 12 years. Did you ever picture where she was going to end up?
No, I didn't, to be honest. I didn't. When she gets shot at the beginning of this season, you know, I thought I thought the build up to her making the decision to leave was very well crafted.
Yeah.
Like you see her recount to Benson, like I was just thinking to myself, what am I doing here? Like why I'm not taking advantage of everything I have in my life, and I think I've done that over and over, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So you get to kind of see her, oh my God, I have to make a change, and like realizing what that is, and then going, oh, here it is. Here's the opportunity, and taking it. So yeah, I was very satisfied. I thought it made sense. I thought it was fitting. I thought it definitely resonated with where I am in life right now as well.
You definitely scared a lot of people in that premiere episode. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Is there anything that was not in the episode that you would have liked to see? Any added things in there?
Um, well, sure, there's always more, but yeah, I was happy with where it ended. I thought, like I said, Julie Martin and David Graziano did a really beautiful job in making it believable and consistent with Rollins' character, but also, it was very important to David, you know, to for her, you know, over the years, he was a fan of the show, and he was like, just watching Rollins, it's like for her not to postpone joy. He was like, I can't wait to write that episode, and I thought he did such a great job with it.
Looking back to when you joined the show, did you have any idea how far Amanda would come evolution wise, what you'd get to do with this character, how long it
Oh
would be
gosh,
on?
no.
I mean, it's such a career highlight, I would imagine, to have developed a character so fully and so well, well written.
Yeah, when I joined the cast, I was like, well, Maloney just left, and they're probably not going to like me very much, but I'll give it a shot. Like I don't mind people not being a fan, automatically. Like I can earn
You did.
their love, or I can at least try. And so I thought I'd be on it for like a couple of seasons. I had no idea. I had no idea I would get married and have two babies and get divorced and get married again. And you know what I mean? Like I've had a whole lifetime. I think I was 29 when I, knew I was going to join. And now I'm in my 40s. It's like, it's crazy. And you think about the show, it started in the 90s. So it was on in the 90s, the aughts, the
Mhm.
teens, and now the 20s. Like it's been, it, it was on when 9/11 happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like the world has completely changed, and for it to mean so much to so many people, it just says a lot about the show, and it says a lot about Mariska's dedication. It says a lot about all the people that have put their heart and soul into writing it, like Julie Martin and Warren Light and Michael Chernuchin and Alex Chappell, who was a writer, and Johnny D and all these, Juan Campanella, a great director, all these people. And then the A camera operator that was always there, when I was there, John Heron, like our crew is invested in telling these stories. So that's why I think it's successful. I think there's so many people with big hearts and inquisitive minds working to tell the best story possible within the confines of the medium, that it shows up in what they see on screen. And I think that's what the audience responds to. It's a lot of people caring a lot about getting it right.
And it's one of those shows that I feel like you kind of mentioned, it is on so long that so many different generations get exposed to it. Last time we spoke, I told you my grandparents passed out to my parents, and then me on a Thursday night, I'm sitting with my grandparents and my
That's
mother
crazy.
watching one show that we all watch. It's kind of insane to think about that a
That's
show
awesome.
can, but how has SVU changed your life? I know that's
Well, I
such a
mean,
hard question.
no, I mean it's given me friendships, that I'll have for the rest of my life. That's probably number one. It's given me um financial stability and opportunities, for my kids, and made New York livable in a way that it's not livable for a lot of people. Very fortunate in that. So yeah, those are the big ones.
And is there anything lastly that you kind of want to say to the fans, whether it's something you want to leave them with or just something you want to say to them for these 12 years or anything like that?
No, I mean, thanks for taking the ride with me. I really appreciate it.
Kelli, thank you so much for this time. I mean, you are always so
Oh,
generous with
sure.
your time and me. And I can't wait to see what you do next. Please know, whatever you do next, you have my support. I
Well,
can't.
thank you. I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate the
much.
support.
Professional artists and professors, maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The Hard Knock Life, comics, movies, and TV. Yeah, pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this.